Kia ora koutou. Didn't think I had a trading session in me today, but I'm glad I showed up. Even on a tired day, it feels good to make solid decisions and walk away green. It had been a long day and night of work, and honestly I was feeling pretty out of it heading into the session. But NUWE was leading the gappers and I saw a chance to get in, so I took it. 2 trades later, I finished with 57.50 in profit, and I'm happy with that. Small wins, but they're adding up. Also, the bot is really starting to find its rhythm. More on that in a bit. So, as I said, NUWE was the first trade I took. And once again, as I just got back from my job and opened up my charts, and this was the leading gapper. Saw it break up through here. I actually thought about getting in on NUWE here. It had pushed up here, sort of below VWAP around 1120, and then pulled back. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll get in here around 1080. But then I thought, no, it's not confirming that it's going yet. It hasn't broken through VWAP. It looks like it's been trending down. This could be a reversal, but I thought I'd wait. I waited a bit too long. It did break up here, and there was an aggressive entry here around 11.15 when it broke that level, that pivot point here. And missed that. It pushed up. I missed the micro pullback here at 11.50, which would have been another good entry. But I ended up getting in as it made a pullback. It had pushed up here, made a big pullback down to here, down to 12.06. And actually, no, sorry. It opened, pulled back, I got in at 12.06, and then it pushed up to 12.80, 4.85, and I got out at 12.61, filled at 12.61. And then it pulled all the way back and pulled back further down to the 9 EMA. And this is where I should have got in again for the next trade for the push back up. But I didn't take that trade. And I actually just sat there and watched NUWE push all the way up to a high of 1882. So, it put in a decent move, really good move. I was in here really early, and even though I was really happy with that trade, that was, over 50 cents a share, and I was up $27.50 with 50 shares on that trade there. So I was really happy with my trade, and just being tired, I just didn't wasn't really in a good headspace to trade this. The other reason as well is that my bot was doing pretty well trading it, so I kind of just watched that, where I should have traded with my bot. But the other trade I took was on QLGN later on. This stock popped up around 8 o'clock, and I got to it, where was it? It was about here, and it come up to $7 and was pulling back, and saw this pullback here, and I saw it come down to the 9 EMA and thought I will get in on the support of the 9 EMA and see if I can get a quick trade. I was kind of thinking it may break back up and come back to this $6.87, $7 level. That's kind of what I wanted to happen with this trade. I was getting in here at the 9 EMA and looking for it to push higher. It didn't do that. It pushed up, and it's struggling. It was struggling when it was coming up to 5.66. It pushed up there a couple of times, and it pushed up, sort of failed, and then it pushed up again. I hit the sell key. It put an order in but didn't get filled at 5.56, and then about 2 seconds later it pushed back up to 5.56 and filled me there. And then it pulled back, closed at 553, then pulled back on the next candle. Next couple of candles down to a low of 4, well actually around 420, 425. And some pretty big red candles there and a decent pullback on this stock. So I wasn't too keen to get back in on this stock really until it sort of really proved itself. But by the time it kind of did, it came up here and rejected off of VWAP at this level here around 546. And then, you know, big dump down here to 453. So I didn't get in on that stock as it sort of was rallying back up. So, and I called it by the time it had hit, broken through VWAP, I was making my notes on my trades and finalising my data sheet and stuff like that. So I missed this leg of this trade here, but I pretty much called it a night by the time it was about 8 o'clock, just after 8 o'clock. So yeah, so that was my two trades. That trade there I made $30 profit on, so that was a total of $57.50 for me last night trading. So the bot didn't trade QLGN, not while I was, it might have put in some trades in here if I'd been watching that long, but I didn't watch this stock that long. See, it pushed up to a high of 735, so not too bad, pretty strong. Didn't hold into the open though. So I'll come back to an NUWE. Where are we? Yep. So I'm just going to remove those indicators there and we'll put the bot on. So the bot traded NUWE here. It actually got in before me. It got in here on the break of that first green candle for the break of VWAP. So it triggered here that it had broken VWAP, entered here, and then pushed up and took its profit here around 12.36. So first trade 11.82 out at 12.34. It then got in again here at 12.14 and pushed up to 13.23. It took its profit off the table. Didn't trade any of this one part here. If I put the MACD on and actually probably the volume, add that to the chart. You can see through this area here, it didn't trigger through this part. Not quite sure why it didn't trigger through there, but it's probably because it didn't break, and then when it did through this section here, the MACD is negative, so it won't trade anything along this part here. Then it becomes positive again. It got in here again for the break of the green candle. So I'm not sure why it doesn't get in a bit earlier. I mean, it probably got in, it's probably that candle there that triggered it, broke, and then it's entered on the close of this one here. So it got in here at 15.71 and then pushed up to take its profit at 16.90 on that trade. This next trade, was it that one? I think it was this one actually. Let's have a look. That one. I might have changed something. Not sure. I was doing some coding before and added something else in, so maybe that's changed it because it's different from what it was. I'll just update that. And I'll just change that to 9. It'll probably be oh no, it's pretty much the same. Anyway, yeah, this trade here, where it got in here, I thought it was going to fail, but it didn't. It got a profit there. And this one here, I definitely thought it was going to stop out with a loss, entering around 1686. I thought it was just too high. And it almost got stopped out. You can see that's its stop there along this orange line, and it almost stopped out, got stopped out, but then it ripped and it hit its profit target, which is here, and then the trailing stop, it triggered the trailing stop, and so it stopped out on the very next candle. But yeah, decent trade, 1685 out at around 1780. Nearly $1 a share on each of those. And yeah, it's losing a lot off the top, and that's just unfortunately the way it triggers. And then eventually it did take a loss at the top. This trade here, it got in way too high, but you know, it stopped out, and then basically it didn't take any more trades as the MACD has gone negative, and you know, it won't trade anything on the backside of the move. So quite happy with how the bot performed last night. And you know, if I list the trades there, you know, it started the night off $28 profit, and all these, the first 5 trades were all green, and that brought it up to, does it tell me? It doesn't tell me here, first 5 trades. So that brought it up to a P&L of 199, and then it took a loss on the next trade, which brought it down to 167. So it lost that last trade was $32 drawdown. Well, not drawdown, $32 loss on that last trade when I was trading it. So yeah. So basically I traded it here from around 620 and watched it all the way up to, well, I was actually watching it until about 7:30, I think. And the bot traded it all the way through there. So decent trades and decent profit, only trading 50 shares. So yeah, I was quite impressed with that. And, you know, surprised me a couple of times that it actually worked pretty well. It still leaves a bit on the table, but the way it's working now is it has a trailing stop. So once it reaches its profit target, it triggers the trailing stop, and then that stop will eventually trigger once the stock price falls and hits that basically trailing stop. So yeah, so it's working pretty well at the moment. So looking at my charts, so yeah, only 2 trades today, NUWE, QLGN, profit of 57.50, and some more green to add to this month's tally, which is good, and you know, looking much better this month than previous months, and just wanting to keep that going, and you know, stay green for the rest of the month would be great, but you know, we'll see. Honestly, I'm really happy with how today played out. I was selective, stayed calm, and managed my trades well, even if I could have been a little more aggressive on NUWE. And while the bot outperformed me again, it's actually pushing me to improve. It's forcing me to follow my own rules and stop second guessing setups that I know are valid. I'm still learning, still testing, still building. If you're curious about how this journey unfolds, both mine and the bot's, hit that subscribe and follow along. And if you're working on your own system too, I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to heir about it in the comments. I'll be back again tomorrow. Hei ao popo.